Hello there, everybody. Yes. 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 It's a good day, man. It's a good day. The fight's not over, but it is a darn good day. It is a darn good day, man. Yo, I'm about to break down the whole hearing for you, right? Because I watched it. Wow. Wow. You'll forgive me, right? I'm trying to take it all in, man. I was literally crying from happiness just now. Wow. So I'm just looking over here. How many people we got watching? Very good. We got 232 people watching, but only 127 likes. Again, I know this is annoying, but I have to do it at the beginning of every live stream. Please make sure you throw a couple of shoes at the like button because of the algorithm. The algorithm doesn't like adversarial journalism and you know, anything that isn't MSNBC. If you'll give me just 1 second as well, I just like to post that I'm live on Twitter, okay? Because I forgot to do that. So here we go. And then I'm going to break down the hearing for you because this was just, I mean, this is, wow. All right, 1 second. Almost done. There we go. Okay. Ready? Let's jump right in, man. Let us jump right in because this is very exciting. So I'm going to get straight to the nitty-gritty. Okay. So the judge, UK judge Vanessa Bretzer, she has blocked the extradition of Julian Assange, of WikiLeaks founder, of Australian journalist Julian Assange. Okay. She has blocked his extradition to the United States. Now, this is not over yet. Okay. He's not out of the woods yet, but this is very good. This is great. So I'm going to break this down for you. Once again, I had access to the hearing. We're just a couple of journalists watching it remotely, and I was very lucky to get in. And I'm going to break down how this unfolded, how this happened. So I was live tweeting on Twitter. Maybe some of you were following. I'm going to show you that thread right now and go through it with you. Okay. So here it is. Let me just zoom in for you so you can actually, so it's actually legible. There we go. So we started out at 10 a.m. GMT, right? So I was just posting some background info about the importance of this case, obviously for press freedoms, all these things. And once again, I brought up the fact that this extradition treaty is very one-sided. Yeah. And ironically, I raised the very point on which she decided to block the extradition. I mean, I've been raising it the whole time. I mean, there are so many points. There are so many points. And I said that these are just a few among a plethora of concerns and violations regarding this case. However, I just randomly happened to bring this one up again. So I said the UK-US extradition treaty prohibits extradition for political trials. This being one, yes? That part is mysteriously missing in its UK implementation, the Extradition Act 2003. Okay, so just to break that down for you once again, when you have a treaty, that's between two states, two countries. But in order to enact that treaty, to implement it into common law, yes, they make an act. So the extradition treaty between the United Kingdom and the United States is implemented into British common law as the Extradition Act of 2003. Okay? Now, this is the interesting thing, which I pointed out to you before. In the extradition treaty between the United States and the United Kingdom, it says you can't extradite someone to face a political trial of a political nature, which is literally this. I mean, this is the most political trial in modern history. I mean, there, you know, if there ever was one. Yeah, the guy leaked, exposed war crimes. Assange exposed war crimes by the United States. He embarrassed them. That's why they're after him. It's political. That part is missing in the Extradition Act. in the UK law. And that's very important because that's going to be raised by the judge today, which we'll get to in a second. Okay, now just below that, in the same breath, what did I say here? I said section 91B. What I actually meant was 91.2, but same thing, B. Barring extradition on health grounds is included. Okay, so that is in British common law. It is in the Extradition Act 2003. You will find it there. This must be considered given Julian Assange's health, right? Why? Because if you can read that. So this is about physical or mental condition, right? This section applies if at any time in the extradition hearing it appears to the judge that the condition in subsection 2 is satisfied. What is that condition? The condition is that the physical or mental condition of the person is such that it would be unjust or oppressive to extradite him. In that case, the judge must A, order the person's discharge, or B, adjourn the extradition hearing until it appears to him that the condition in subsection 2 over here is no longer satisfied. So I was talking about this the whole time. I was raising the importance of it because, you know, there were a few days where during the extradition hearing in September where the extra witnesses that were brought in, Dr. Koppelman, this top neuroscientist, right? All of these top doctors were brought in to talk about the detrimental effect that arbitrary detention in the Ecuadorian embassy has had on Julian, that the conditions in Belmarsh prison have had on him, the psychological impact. So this is very important, right? So anyway, I just raised that before we got started, right? Anyway, the court begins. We saw Assange and you know, they asked him to stand up and give his full name and date of birth. And once again, he's locked inside of a glass box. I mean, this is, I don't know if you've seen this post that I made on Twitter, but it's really disgusting. And it's his father, actually, Julian's father, who raised this point, I think on the first day of the hearing outside the Old Bailey. He said, like, even people at the International Criminal Court are allowed to sit with their lawyers at the bar table. Julian is not. So once again, he's in a glass box and he's wearing a face mask and there's just a guard behind him. Go look at the Nuremberg trials, right? Where they had Hammond going. Well, they had all these scumbags, these mass murderers. Dude, they even gave them interpreters, microphones. They let these fucking Nazis, literal Nazis, try and justify genocide. I mean, Julian is not even being afforded that. For a fact, I told you, this guy's barely spoken the entire hearing, right? And actually, on the very few occasions where he did, he was defending al-Masri, was a torture victim, right? Which just goes to show what integrity he has. But and we know that if he gets sent to the U.S., he will not be allowed to justify, or rather, try and explain why he published those documents, right? Daniel Ellsberg said that. Ever since Daniel Ellsberg, they went after him. You're not allowed to do that. You're tried under the Espionage Act. You're in a secret court. You shut your goddamn mouth. You're not allowed to explain why you did what you did. You be quiet. So once again, you need to understand the gravity of this. You have a fucking journalist in the middle of London trapped in a glass box and he can't even sit with his lawyers. Like he's some mass murderer or something. And even then, mass murderers are treated better in court. And I know I'm going off on tangents, but I really need to illustrate this to you because it is shocking. I mean, I literally just watched that now again. It is disgusting. You know, treating him like an animal. This is unacceptable. It really is. So Judge Bretzer, she doesn't give the verdict immediately. She says she wants to touch on a few of the arguments, right? Before giving the verdict. And there are many of these, right? There are many of these. So she starts with the political offense. So as I just mentioned to you, why this is important. It's present in the extradition treaty, but it's not in the Extradition Act. This makes no sense. I mean, the whole point of the Extradition Act is that you're implementing this treaty into your law, into your common law, your country's law. It should be a carbon copy, should it not? I mean, let's not forget, it's already very one-sided. It favors the Americans, I mean, ridiculously. Let me just explain this to you again, because Gary McKinnon, when I interviewed him, he pointed this out, and we already knew this with Julian. You don't even need to prove the person committed a crime. You don't need burden of proof. The US just needs to come to the UK and say, yeah, this guy did XYZ. We want to extradite him. They don't have to even prove it. They don't even have to give any evidence. They just have to accuse someone, and that's it. And of course, the UK can't do that to the Americans. Yeah, go read the treaty. Why? Because Americans have constitutional protections. It's unbelievable. And even then, they still put in that clause about political offenses don't count, and it's missing. And what does the judge say? What does Judge Baretzer say today when she's given the verdict? She talks about that point. She says, look, since it's not in, she said, yeah, since it's in the extradition treaty, but not in British common law in the Extradition Act of 2003, it doesn't count. So I'm not going to stop this extradition based on the assumption that it's a political witch hunt or a political trial, political offense. Man, I'm just sitting there. I'm like, you what? Yeah. Yeah, that's how it started out. It was already very grim from the beginning. So there we go. Okay, and let's keep moving forward. Right, then she talked about the conspiracy hacking charges. Okay, so you recall that with Julian, he's been charged with, rather, 17 counts under the Espionage Act. And each one of those counts carries a sentence of 10 years, right? And there's one count under the CFAA, the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. And that's a count that carries 5-year sentence, right? That's why he's facing up to 175 years in prison. This conspiracy hacking charge is absurd. We've gone through this. I mean, it's absurd in multiple manners because Chelsea Manning had already given Assange the documents before this alleged conversation took place where they conspired. Sorry, I got something in my eye for some reason. So Chelsea Manning had already given the files to Assange before this alleged conversation took place. Okay? So that's number one. Number two, the password hash is useless on its own. We had Goldhoff, I think was his name, this computer scientist, a professor from Switzerland who testified in the hearing. He explained this to them. Oh, no, excuse me. It is hard to keep track. He was more at the beginning of the trial, and he was talking about the WikiLeaks website being mirrored and the cables being contained in those copies. But we heard from former military that this password hash is useless on its own. You can't do anything with it, and you don't even know that it's for a password regarding any of the U.S. military's computers. It could be a password for a MySpace account. Who knows? And it's useless on its own. So my point here is that from a chronological point of view, this charge is nonsense. From a technical IT point of view, this charge is nonsense. Moreover, the alias in that little shred of evidence, so-called evidence that they have, we don't even know if Chelsea Manning is talking to Assange. She could have been talking to Tutankhamun. I don't know, man. She could have been talking to Genghis Khan. You don't know that it was Assange. So that whole thing is nonsense, okay? And anyway, the point is the judge, she starts talking about this, and she said her finding was that Assange's activities went beyond those of just a journalist. Again, I think this is ridiculous. I think this is absurd because every single day, as we heard from other people who testified during the hearing, it is completely normal. It's commonplace for journalists to hound sources for classified information. You can post it on Twitter, right? Give me CIA documents. This is normal. I mean, this is investigative journalism. I don't really know what world she's living in, but there you go. So that was very unfortunate that she did not think this was a politically motivated witch hunt. Then she says she agrees with the computer hacking, the conspiracy charge, and that essentially she's parroting the line that, oh, Julian Assange is not a journalist. Julian Assange, his pinky finger is worth 10,000 journalists in mainstream media. Okay, so then she talked about these conferences that Assange had attended and said that he asked people, encouraged them to join the CIA and leak documents. As I noted, again, is that a crime? Journalists hound sources to leak them classified documents every day. Everybody who testified in this hearing, it's too many to name. Daniel Ellsberg, Trevor Timmons, all of them, man. All these people who work in journalism have said this is a normal, standard journalistic practice to solicit classified information, to protect your sources, all of this stuff. Okay? So it's very unfortunate that the judge was agreeing with this. Next up. I said that the judge is parroting the U.S. indictment, that Assange and WikiLeaks endangered people. And again, this is completely false. This is absolutely false. The Department of Defense, they set up a task force in 2013 when they were court-martialing Chelsea Manning, right? To assert whether WikiLeaks had actually endangered anyone's lives. They couldn't find a single person. A single person. And once again, the argument that I make is that why are you ignoring the victims? You don't think the 15,000 dead Iraqis that were uncovered in the files that Chelsea Manning passed along are maybe of more importance and higher caliber than some fucking CIA informant that does not exist, that was not harmed because they don't exist? Again, do you see how they try to like shift the conversation away from the victims of the war crimes and the crimes against humanity? Their own DOD, the Pentagon themselves, they set up a task force. They couldn't find anyone. This is bullshit. So I don't know where she gets this from. I really don't know where she gets this from. Okay? And she said that free speech doesn't give anyone the unfettered discretion to publish whatever they want. Okay. As you wish, madam. As you wish. Moving on. The audio was horrible. Like, man, you got to understand something. Look, man, this is the UK. It's the year 2021. Pandemic, no pandemic. They should have had, an adequate setup in there. I mean, I'm especially offended knowing my way around sound engineering and microphones. It's horrible. You know what they did essentially? There's a huge echo in the room. You can't make out what the judge is saying because it's just the mic is being drowned with reverb. Horrible. Finally, I think this is thanks to Mary, by the way. Mary is really a gem. She told them and someone fixed it. The audio got better afterwards. But like for 30 minutes, man, we were like trying to make out what the hell she's saying. Anyway. The judge then said, Judge Bretzer, she said she found insufficient evidence that the Trump administration singled out Assange for a witch hunt. She thought there was a healthy debate about the charges, right? Again, she's asserting that, this is not politically motivated. I mean, dude, we're going to get to UC Global in a second. But just the fact that Trump is linked to Sheldon and UC Global, I mean, this is absurd. This is absurd. The very nature of what Assange leaked, the very nature of his documents makes this political. Assange did not leak oatmeal recipes, okay? He leaked war crimes. He published them. Chelsea Manning leaked them to him. He published war crimes. Diplomatic cables. It's political by nature, whether you like it or not. And that's why they're going after him. Don't come here and tell me this is not political. Not to mention the fact that we have a statement from one of his attorneys, Jennifer Robinson, about Dana Rohrabacher and Charles Johnson. I can't remember who the second person was. But they visited him. They visited Assange in the Ecuadorian embassy and offered him a deal, right? I mean, of course it's politically motivated. You got Jeff Sessions, when he was the attorney general, saying we're going to go after, he said, I'm paraphrasing, prosecuting WikiLeaks is a top priority, something along those lines. And then you got Mike Pompeo saying WikiLeaks is a non-state hostile intelligence service. Of course it's political. Don't give me that bullshit. So that was a shame to hear that from the judge. A healthy debate about the charges. Nonsense. I mean, even the fact that they submitted 2-3 superseding indictments and couldn't even make their minds up, it's just Again, I mean, they didn't contain any new charges, but still, this is absurd. So now she talked about the UC Global spying, right? So you remember that UC Global is a Spanish firm. David Morales was at the head of it, and he essentially was spying on Julian Assange in the Ecuadorian embassy in London on behalf of U.S. intelligence, okay? And now he's on trial in Spain for that, okay? Now, the thing is, the judge refused to take this into consideration. She said that the trial is still ongoing in Spain, right? And that, you know, she couldn't use, again, I'm paraphrasing here, but it was too inconclusive for her to take that into consideration. I mean, I don't even know what to say to that. I don't know what to say to that. This is, that's a crime in of itself. That is, I want to explain something to you. That is a crime in of itself. Any embassy, not just the Ecuadorian embassy, any embassy, anywhere in the world, that's foreign soil, okay, technically speaking. You have conventions, you have laws protecting diplomats, protecting diplomatic corps and missions. You can't do shit like that, regardless, you know, illegally spying on someone, never mind in a fucking embassy. I mean, this is a catastrophic failure on the part of the UK government. The UK government has an obligation as a host country to protect embassies, okay? To protect diplomatic personnel. That's a fact. That's enshrined in international law, okay? Vienna Convention. You can't allow this shit. It's not just about Assange. This is a crime in of itself. And you're just glossing over it, not to mention the fact that they took his personal effects. How can you say this man is going to have a fair trial if they took away his personal effects, if they were spying on him and gathering evidence? Any judge would throw this out. You know, if this was about a parking ticket or something, you can't use tainted evidence in a supposed liberal democracy and in a court of law. You can't do that. Never mind in a case of this caliber. And in a fucking embassy, I mean, this is really absurd. They really got no shame. So I don't even know what to say to that. I really don't. Like, you're just going to let the United States get away with using your capital city as a playground to spy on diplomatic personnel? I mean, have you gone nuts? So, yeah, again, this made me very angry, and I pointed that out. So, anyway, and the audio got a bit better, and then the judge said something else. She thought that the U.S. is not trying to punish Assange as hard as possible, and she didn't find any ill intent on their behalf. Okay, she said no foundation by the defense submission that evidence given by Manning was due to torture either. Yeah, I think Chelsea Manning would beg to differ. I think a lot of people would beg to differ. Yeah. What was she given? 35 years? She served 7 of those, and then she was thrown back in jail because she refused to turn against Assange. Go to hell. I mean, this is, no. That was torture. You know that. Don't lie. So, again, this is concerning. You need to understand something, man. This just happened like an hour ago, 2 hours ago. And she's going after point after point. I'm just sitting there. I mean, well, I'm not just sitting there. I'm like fucking typing away like a maniac. But I mean, my heart is sinking because I'm like, oh my God, she sounds like she's part of the U.S. prosecution. She's literally parroting the goddamn indictment. So then she said she believes that constitutional protections will be afforded to Assange and thinks he will receive a fair trial. That's funny. Therefore, no violation of Article 6 of the European Convention of Human Rights. Okay. Again, I've raised these points many times with you guys. So if you look at the European Convention on Human Rights, Article 6, it's right to a fair trial. Okay. Article 3, that's I don't know. Can you say right not to be tortured? Basically, you have to treat the prisoner in a humane fashion. You can't torture people, subject them to inhumane conditions, right? So there are several protections in there, and she addressed those. And I mean, I'm listening to this, and I'm like, are you kidding here? I just told you guys they stole his personal effects from the embassy. They got his hard drives. They got his I don't know what else. They spied on him. They not only did they spy on him, they spied on his legal counsel. I mean. Again, any judge would throw this out. Like, can you imagine the prosecution coming up and saying like, yeah, we got this evidence by spying on the defense team when they were convicted? What? The judge would be like, get out of my courtroom. What is this? Not to mention, I told you earlier, Daniel Ellsberg made this point that he was, ever since he was tried under the Espionage Act, he was not even allowed to explain why he did the Pentagon Papers. Like nothing about this will be fair in any capacity. Again, the court delivering the indictment, the Eastern District, the Court of Virginia, dude, that's the espionage court. Everybody that the U.S. wants to go after, they do it there. But you know why? Because most of the people are going to be part of the jury. Oh, by the way, she said they're going to be from different counties. Yeah, it doesn't matter. People who work at the CIA and in the intelligence community don't all live in the same county, madam. Yeah, it's still going to be a jury pool made up mostly of people who work in the intelligence community. Guess what? They don't fucking like Julian Assange. All right. So I mean, I was shocked by this. I was really shocked by this. Moreover, lawyers for Assange who've done great work. Dude, I can't even count how many hundreds of lawyers have been up in arms about how many legal violations there are under the ECHR, under right to due process in the US under the Constitution, just in UK common law. Like I've told you guys this many times before, there's no scope and lens you can wait, no way you can look at this and not find violations of his right to a fair trial, about his treatment psychologically, mentally. Nowhere. You look at the accords set out by the UN, by Interpol, everything. It's just in complete violation. It's unbelievable. So I don't know where she's getting this from. And not to mention, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, look what he said. Julian Assange has no First Amendment freedoms. So how is she saying that he's going to be given constitutional protections? Again, keep in mind, when Pompeo said this, this is in 2017, so he was not Secretary of State back then. He was CIA director, right? So the guy is telling you, we consider WikiLeaks a hostile non-state intelligence service. Julian Assange has no First Amendment rights. And again, I pointed out this double standard, how they want to try him under U.S. law without affording him any protections. I don't know where she's getting this from, that he's going to be afforded constitutional protections. That is nonsense. That's not true. And I know you want me to get to the end of this. It's very important you pay attention to why I'm bringing up these points again. Okay, it's very important. So, yeah, again, this is the full transcript of that speech from Pompeo. So then Judge Baretzer, she says, First Amendment protects freedom of speech similar to Article 10. I reject any suggestion that as a foreign national, Assange will be denied these protections. Once again, Pompeo is saying this right here. Okay, these people have no intention of giving Assange anything. She said, this court trusts that a U.S. court will properly consider Assange's right to free speech. No, they're not. No, they are absolutely not. And here we get to a very interesting point. So on health matters, the Judge Baretzer, she accepted Dr. Koppelman's assessment that Assange suffers from depression. How generous of you. She accepted also that he suffers from high-functioning autism and Asperger's, right? She finds that without support from his friends and his family, he has remained moderately or severely depressed. Yeah. I think anyone that's been arbitrarily detained for 10 years would rightfully feel that way. And we didn't need the top neuroscientists and psychiatrists in the country to come give us their testimony. Nonetheless, they did, and they concur. So, I'm glad she agrees with that. She said she accepts that he has been at risk of suicide since his arrival at Her Majesty's Prison, Belmarsh. However, the overall impression is of a depressed man who is fearful about his future. Here we go. She accepts there is a real risk that he will be subjected to special administrative measures, also known as SAMs, given that the U.S. intelligence community views Assange as a threat. And ironically, she refers to the exact same speech that I linked just above when Pompeo said that he considers WikiLeaks to be a non-state hostile intelligence service. She quoted him, that exact phrase. And so, her logic is that because the United States views Assange as such a threat, they will definitely put him in SAMs, which are these completely inhumane conditions, right? You get like one phone call a month if you're lucky. You barely go outside, no sunlight. It's just horrendous. So on the possibility of Assange being held at Federal Supermax ADX Florence, right, she accepts that he will likely be held there under SAMs post-trial. The European Court acknowledges that the purpose of this regime is to prevent all physical contact between inmates and others. Yes, this is true, right? And once again, they're allowed to record your conversations with your legal counsel. They get to choose who can visit you. I mean, these are, I think it was under Bill Clinton that they came up with these. 96, was it? I can't remember. But this is beyond draconian. It's horrendous, right? So at least she acknowledges that. Now here she says, I'm satisfied that Assange has the intellect to circumvent suicide preventative measures. She accepts Koppelman's assessment that Assange will find a way to kill himself. And by the way, it's not just him. So in the ruling, Dr. Dealey, who also testified during the hearing, he said, Dr. Dealey described Mr. Assange as an intelligent and determined individual who, quote, knows how to kill himself, unquote. He has a strong awareness of his reputational standing as a public figure and was sensitive to being demeaned or humiliated. He would perceive his extradition not only as unjust, but as a form of exemplary punishment and humiliation, which he would find intolerable. He would also find methods employed in U.S. jails to prevent suicide, such as being placed in a restraining jacket, to be intolerable. Mr. Assange would rather kill himself rather than face these events. If Mr. Assange were extradited to the U.S., the risk of attempted suicide would be high. All of the doctors said this. Just excuse me one second. I need to get some water, man. Yeah, so all of the doctors agreed on this, okay? And the judge, she also concurs. She also concurs with this assessment, all right? And then she discharged him. That's why she decided not to extradite him. Dude, I can't even do, like, I'm still overwhelmed by it and ecstatic. I really am. I couldn't believe it. Like I froze. I literally froze up when she was saying it because it was like she just rolled into the next sentence. Like, I therefore find it, I therefore discharge Julian Assange under Section 91B of the Extradition Act. I was just like, oh my God, did she just say that? Amazing. I'm so happy for her. I really am. I mean, it's not exactly a happy story after all the shit he's been through and his family and all this stuff, but it is a win. It is a win. Now, let's analyze this decision in a second, but there she is, man. I posted it. Breaking news. Judge Baretzer has ordered Julian Assange to be discharged under Section 91B, citing health reasons. The U.S. has 14 days to appeal. And once again, as I said before, the irony is that I literally posted a screenshot of this. I mean, not the first time, right? But I posted it before, and I had no idea that this would be the exact reason that she would block the extradition on. But, whatever it is, that made her decide that, good. And that's good. That's good. Now, it's not perfect, though, and I'll explain why in a second. I mean, I posted this underneath, right? That, and by the way, here's the actual, so this is the full document. You can see here, orders. I order the discharge of Julian Paul Assange pursuant to Section 91.3 of the Extradition Act 2003. That is so good to read, man. That is really good to read. And again, you got to understand that I was not expecting this because she spent an hour or something, you know, going through all of these points and repeating all of the propaganda and the lies in the indictment. And I was not expecting that. And all of a sudden she's like, no, no extradition. So, like I said here, I'm going to repeat this point to you because it's very important. While Barretzer's decision is good, this extradition should not have to hinge on Assange being understandably ill and at risk of suicide. He did nothing wrong. He exposed U.S. crimes against humanity. U.S. leadership should be the ones in a glass box on trial. It's true. It's true. You know, I want to see Donald Rumsfeld. I want to see Condoleezza Rice and Colin Powell in a fucking glass box, not Julian Assange. They deserve to be in a glass box and on trial. It's not even like I'm drawing a comparison between someone who's innocent and well-intentioned and a good man and these really evil people. They're literally implicated in the war crimes that he published. It's their fault. There is a direct connection here between those mass murderers. They're getting away with these crimes against humanity, and he's taking the fall. He's being punished for telling us about them. It's 110% related. So anyway, this is the issue now. This is the issue. She only let him go. She only blocked the extradition. Vanessa Barretzer, the UK district judge, she blocked the extradition on grounds of his health. Yes, I agree. And by the way, if I'm not mistaken, please, you'll have to forgive me again. This has been a very long extradition hearing. I can't remember who exactly said this during the extradition hearing, but it was during the 3 days of medical testimony. It was made clear that, you know, Assange is at risk of suicide, even in the UK. And that's very important to understand because, dude, he was being confined to his cell 23, 24 hours a day, as it is. And it's not even a question of, there's no heating and, you know, he can't receive visitors and there's a COVID outbreak in his wing and all of these things, which are extremely egregious. It's not just that. The guy is innocent, goddammit. What is he doing there in the first place? What is he doing there? It's been 10 years they're chasing his ass. You know, I'd love to see some government going after George Bush for 10 years and trying to extradite him and making him go and hide in an embassy. I'd love to see that, you know? No, instead they go after Assange. This is, I mean, it's literally the embodiment of the word a persecution. Literally. Not prosecution, persecution. So, again, just before I come back to this, just to wrap up the court proceedings from today, okay? So, we had a recess after this for, I don't know how long it was, man. I was just, my brain's on overdrive because I was really happy for Assange. They had a recess, they came back, and the recess was to decide, the defense wanted a few moments to discuss whether they will apply for bail today or at a later date. They ended up deciding for Wednesday, January 6th. So that's after tomorrow, okay? And this is what they said. Let me just... Here we go. So defense to judge, there are the strongest grounds to granting bail, but we wish to put all the information before you, dealing with bail marsh conditions and conditions to reassure you of any concerns regarding absconding bail. Defense will make the bail application on Wednesday, January 6th, right? So I'm assuming they want to beef up their application a bit more because the United States is definitely going to appeal this. Otherwise, he'd be out. And they want to reassure the judge that Assange won't abscond bail, I'm assuming. Now, you know, if you really want to play devil's advocate, you could argue that, okay, the only crime he's ever committed in the UK was absconding bail, right? I mean, who could blame him? Who could blame him, right? Nonetheless, he served a sentence for that, but the prosecution could come along and say, well, look, he's jumped bail before. You can't possibly let him go now. He'll jump bail again. Yeah, okay, but you let out Al-Qaeda terrorists from that exact same jail. Look, I'll show you. I mean, I've told you about this before. Look at this. Abu Qatada, the Jordanian cleric, to return to prison after bail breach. Dude, this guy and his buddies, okay, they were also in Belmarsh prison, the same goddamn prison. That, just to give you an idea of what kind of scum they put in there, and what, you know, who they're putting Julian Assange with, right? Terrorists, literal Al-Qaeda figures. This guy is one of the most senior figures in Al-Qaeda, right? They let him out on house arrest. They were spending £500,000 a week just to keep him under surveillance. Why does he get to live comfortably and spend some of his sentence or, any of his buddies as well, right? But I don't remember their other names, his accomplices, but several of them were released from Belmarsh. Those are fucking terrorists. Those are literal dangers to society. They're flight risks. They're murderers. You let them out, but you won't let Julian Assange out. I mean, use your brain. Who's a bigger risk here to the public? Julian Assange? Bullshit. They had no problem keeping him under surveillance in the Ecuadorian embassy, did they? Right? So I'm pretty sure they could arrange something if they really wanted to. Nonetheless, the point is, he will be, he's still in custody. Okay. Assange is still in custody for now. We'll see what the bail application is on Wednesday. And we'll see what the judge says. Now, this is going to appeals regardless. As I told you, the US, they're definitely appealing it. And what happens now, it goes to a high court. So in the UK, the way it works, you have a high court and then you have the Supreme Court. And if that still doesn't work, you can maybe go to the European Court of Human Rights. So even though the UK left the EU, they're still a member of the Council of Europe. And that's the governing body of the European Court of Human Rights. Okay? So that's an avenue that's still possible, that's still open. But again, you have to consider this takes years, man. This takes years. So I really hope they come up with a good bail application so that at the very least, even though it's still wrong that he should be under any kind of restrictions, any kind of limitations. I mean, he suffered enough, man. And for what? He didn't do nothing wrong. But nonetheless, I at least hope they get him out of this jail. Dude, I went to the goddamn prison. I mean, I was looking at this thing like it's like the goddamn gates of Mordor. I'm not kidding. Like, you know, the goddamn gates of Mordor in the third film. I was like, what is he doing here? What is he doing here? This is absurd. I mean, like, dude, even though, like, pick your worst journalist. Like a journalist that you despise. I don't fucking know. Someone someone over at TYT. Even them, they don't deserve to go there, man. No one does. I mean, that place is for murderers and terrorists. What are you doing putting a journalist in a maximum security prison? And then once again, I go back to my original point. I don't care if he's in a minimum security prison. He did nothing wrong. This is bullshit. Right now, as it stands, this guy should be free to go. Assange should be free to go. Okay? Look, I'm going to read you the thing again. Here we go. I order the discharge of Julian Paul Assange, pursuant to Section 91(3) of the Extradition Act 2003. Let him out. Let him go. Let him go, man. Now, again, I want to go back to the issue with her decision. Because while we're very happy with this, of course, while this is wonderful that she blocked the extradition, we have a problem here, don't we? Because she blocked it only on the grounds of his health. And this is unacceptable to me because, yes, of course, that's one major reason. But everything else that she cited is extremely problematic. You know, effectively what's happening here, she agreed. I mean, not effectively, literally, you saw what happened. Well, I saw it and I wrote it down for you. She agreed with everything in the fucking indictment. She thinks that he, committed or was part of a conspiracy to hack documents with Chelsea Manning. She thinks that he's going to have a fair trial in the US. She thinks that as a journalist, he's not protected. He can't publish whatever he likes. She parroted almost every single thing in the fucking indictment. This is very bad. I mean, if Julian Assange was in perfect health, if he was a bodybuilder right now, and I don't know, they had like weights at Belmarsh prison, are you telling me that you're going to fucking extradite him? Oh my God. I mean, you know, thank God that this is a saving grace, at least for now, but that should not be the primary reason. This is a win for Assange, okay? But press freedoms are not completely out of the water here. Do you get me? What the UK justice system needs to do, that's what an oxymoron. A British justice system. Yeah, like that's ever existed. What the so-called British justice system needs to do is give the finger to Uncle Sam. They're like, no, we're not extraditing a journalist. Are you on crack? Go away. Out of the question. And don't even get me started on Australia, man. I mean, Australia is like a vassal state of the US at this point. They have not said a goddamn word about Assange. They have not lifted a finger. Shameful. And Jennifer Robinson, Assange's one of Assange's lawyers, she did a great article yesterday that I posted on Twitter about that specifically, right? I mean, cowardly. It's really absurd. It's obscene. And that's in many regards. It's not just about Assange. You look at the military operations, the war crimes, the imperialism. They're one and the same with the U.S. And this new Cold War on China as well. So, again, the big takeaway from this is, hallelujah, man. You know, alhamdulillah. She blocked the extradition. But that should not have been the only ground. I mean, look, it's one line. Madam, this section over here, you should be ordering the discharge of Julian Assange on a plethora of goddamn issues. Holes, gaping holes, inconsistencies, lies, smears in this indictment against him. Horrific. And again, this carries grave implications and ramifications for everybody, man. I mean, Jesus Christ. I want to tell you something. And Jennifer Robinson pointed this out herself, man. Can you imagine if Iran or China or Russia were trying to get Julian Assange? The Australian government would shit their pants, okay? They would ride on a kangaroo cavalry across the goddamn Pacific to get justice. But because the United States is doing it, oh, now they're all hush. Oh, now we be quiet. We look the other way. Pathetic. Really pathetic. So once again, man, this is not just my opinion. Literally, it's not an opinion. It's a fact. Julian Assange, he is protected under the First Amendment. Doesn't have to be American. Doesn't even have to be in the U.S. He didn't do anything wrong. Julian Assange is having several of his rights violated under the European Convention on Human Rights. Several. Article 3, Article 4, Article 6. The list goes on and on. I'm losing count, and it's my job to report on this. That's how big it is of an issue. You look at the Interpol, UN conventions, it's a disaster. No way you can look at this and justify this crap. And that's all she found? That's it? I mean, once again, it's a win, but this is not enough. And my primary concern right now, and I think Fidel Narvaez, the former Ecuadorian consul, I posted an interview with him. We were sitting in court. I was sitting next to him when they brought up the UC Global crap. And you know, he laughed when he heard the name. And I was like, oh my God, here we go. When we heard the testimonies. So I echo his sentiment. Look what he said. Let me pull this up. His quote from just now, just after we got the, God dang it, I'm getting lost over here, man. This is just after we got the decision, okay? You'll have to excuse me, I have a million tabs open. So, here, okay, I found it. I'm just going to play the video for you. Let's go.
This is a victory of all the people who never gave up. The British judicial system wanted to save the face today. For those who were inside listening to the judge, it was like listening to the prosecutor's statement to begin with. If it's not for the very, very fragile health condition of Julian Assange, he will be already extradited. Every journalist should be concerned about what was said today in court, because the political arguments provided by the United States were upheld by the British judicial system. I repeat, it's only the doctor's assessment of the fragile health condition of Julian Assange that have saved him from extradition. The judge had to recognize the appalling, the oppressive conditions of the US prison system under special administrative measures for espionage cases, and the risk of Julian going for suicidal if he is extradited. That was the only thing that stopped that. So be aware that freedom of expression is still under attack.
Yo, 100%. 100%. Also, I see Rebecca from Reporters Without Borders and Juan Passarelli in the background. I love all you guys. It's good to see you. I wish I could be there with you, but there's lockdown. I can't even go there. Otherwise, I would be there right now. I'd be cussing the whole establishment out. Love you guys. Thank you for being champions and all the activists, really. But his statement, 100% on point. And by the way, this was raised during the trial, and I brought up the quotes again so you can see. Again, this is from Dealey, right? So it has been known for decades that suicide is approximately twice as prevalent in prison than it is in the community. Okay? Approximately 50%. Sorry, I missed the line. And recent research confirms that of all successful suicides that occur in a correctional system, approximately 50% involve the 3 to 8% of prisoners who are in some form of isolated confinement at any given time. And then there was another study here as well that was referenced. I mean, see, recent research confirms that all of successful suicides that occur in a correctional system, approximately 50% involve the 3 to 8% of prisoners who are in some form of isolated confinement at any given time. That is a terrifying statistic, okay? You understood what that is? Half of the people who kill themselves in jail, half of that number, 50%, it's from a tiny fraction of the prison population. It's the 3 to 8% that are put in solitary confinement that make up 50% of suicides. And that's what they would do to Julian. You know it. They did it to Chelsea Manning. You got ADSEG, administrative segregation, and also SAMS. You'd have that pre-trial and then post-trial. You could even have it. I mean, 100% you're going to have it with Julian Assange. We know this. And you got to consider how long this man has been arbitrarily detained, how long he's been in Belmarsh now. Anyone would be fucking suicidal, man. Extradition or no extradition. That's some real shit, and you know that. You know that. And that's not just me saying that. That's the doctor saying that. One of the witnesses that the prosecution called, they only called 2, huh? Imagine, there was like 40 witnesses, 40 plus called by the defense, and like 2 from the prosecution, doctors who were trying to refute this. And one of them said that, oh, well, clearly Julian Assange is very resilient, so he's not suicidal. They're trying to use his unbelievable resolve against him. I mean, how disgusting. How disgusting. Like how far are you trying to push the man? You want to see him dead before you fucking understand what you're doing is inhumane and cruel? What is wrong with you? So again, I'm just trying to highlight how horrible this is. And going back to Fidel's point, if it were not for how atrocious and horrible these prison conditions are in the US in general, and especially under SAMs, under special administrative measures, remember, they make up 50% of prison suicides. That's fucking insane. Think about that for a second. 50% of prison suicides are coming from solitary. Man. If it weren't for that, Julian Assange, she might have ruled to extradite him. And once again, this would still go to appeals, and inshallah, in the end, he won't have to be extradited at all, regardless. But still, this is very bad because, as Fidel just said, she upheld all of the political nonsense, all of the lies, all of the smears. This is not good. This is not good. Man, we didn't need. I mean, you could take away a whole set of defense arguments and just be left with one, whether it's the medical or the fact that it's a political trial, right? Or the fact that he won't receive a fair trial. Any one of those is enough to throw this case out. The fact that he's been spied on, they already collected tainted evidence against him. Any one of these is enough to throw the case out. I mean, how much more do you need? Jesus Christ. Anyway, so look, man, that's all I want to wrap this up with. I've been talking for almost an hour, but this is important. I hope you watch it all till the end because, man, I told you, this is the trial of the century. Real shit. It's not just about one man. It's not just about Assange. And as we're seeing now, I mean, we already knew that no matter what the ruling is today, it's going to continue. There will be appeals. This will be drawn out and dragged out. Another reason why bail is important, because he cannot stay in those conditions. He's 23, 24 hours confined to a cell, not allowed visitors. There's COVID outbreak in his wing. Not being given his winter clothes. He has to plug draft the cold wind with his books. I mean, what's wrong with you, man? You call that a first world civilized country? He cannot stay in that. You let terrorists like this piece of shit go live comfortably at home, but Julian Assange cannot. And I remind you once again, they didn't just let him go live comfortably at home. They wrote an entire brand new extradition treaty just for him to make sure that when he got to Jordan, he wouldn't be tortured. And once he got to Jordan, free man. This fucking Al-Qaeda piece of crap is a free man in Jordan now. From the same prison, the exact same prison. So nonetheless, just going back, we're not out of the woods yet. We're not out of the woods just yet. And it's not just a question of what's at stake in regards of, press freedoms. It's also Julian's health. He has to be let out on bail. I mean, they really, I don't know what his defense team are going to come up with. At this point, I'm disgusted by it. I'm quite frankly insulted. Like, even if they said, okay, you can go home and put on an ankle monitor, like it's still, yeah, of course it's an improvement. No, we're not going to deny that. But like, why? He didn't fucking do anything wrong. This is absurd. This is unreal. So I'm really offended by that. But I hope he gets some kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not mercy, but, more lax conditions, and that he gets out of that goddamn hellhole. You can't keep that man in Belmarsh. This is unacceptable. He should be, he shouldn't even be under house arrest, but at least that, for God's sake, let him be with his family, let him be with his kids. She just ruled against the thing, right? So let him out. Now, when it comes to the appeals, again, this is going to be drawn out. Look at Gary McKinnon's case, man. It went to the high court. And then again, it can go right back to the high court, right? Twice. And then maybe the Supreme Court looks at it And then if that doesn't work, you can go to the European Court of Human Rights. But man, that's your last stop. That's your last stop. Gary McKinnon, for example, they turned him away at every corner, every one of these that I just mentioned. By some miracle, the Home Secretary, who has to sign the extradition request at the end, Theresa May at the time, she wasn't Prime Minister yet, she was Home Secretary. By some miracle, she withdrew the extradition request, or rather denied it, right? And it was based on the fact that Gary has Asperger's, ASD. And so, I mean, Julian Assange does also, but there's been some changes since then. I don't think, what's her name again? Patel, the current Home Secretary. Fat chance, mate. I don't think she's going to show any mercy, but who knows? I really hope the High Court maintained the same decision, and that they don't overturn this, because, man, press freedoms are really at stake here. It's a lot at stake here, and it's worrisome. And you know what it reminds me of? Kind of reminds me of the case with Ellsberg, Daniel Ellsberg, because and this was mentioned during the extradition hearing when they were talking about the First Amendment and all this stuff, that in his case was thrown out because of government misconduct, right? And there was a Supreme Court ruling, but it didn't explicitly, I really hope I'm not butchering this because my history on Supreme Court rulings, there was not an explicit ruling that 100% shielded, the New York Times and publishers. And so that was essentially an argument that the prosecution tried to use to say, well, look, I mean, we there's nothing preventing us from going after someone leaking classified information. Yeah, they actually tried to argue that. Anyway, so my point here is that, Daniel Ellsberg got lucky that the government was caught breaking into his shrink's office and trying to get dirt on him and all this stuff. And that's the only reason it was thrown out. Otherwise, they were going to send him away for 115 years in jail. Again, because he exposed their war crimes. And it didn't set a precedent to protect future whistleblowers, future publishers and people that are doing investigative journalism and national security journalism. There was no precedent set by that Supreme Court ruling. That's the issue. And I mean, I think it's completely stupid, because what's your First Amendment for then? if it's worthless, if you need another Supreme Court ruling to solidify it. Nonetheless, this is also an issue. Do you see why we're concerned about this now with this ruling? Yes, it's good, but we're not out of the woods yet. So anyway, we'll see what happens on Wednesday. And I've been talking your ear off for an hour, but still, this is very important and it needs to be said. So, I'm still really glad. I'm ecstatic. I'm glad that after all this time, there's a win here. It's still a win. It's still a win. So that's great. That's wonderful. Give me 1 second over here. Dude, I have too many tabs open. I mean, this is not okay. This is not okay. I'm getting goddamn lost, man. Unacceptable. Here we go. Wonderful. I can see you guys. We got 742 people watching. 690 likes. Make sure you hit the like button. It helps with the algorithm. And I really appreciate it. So let me just answer your questions, okay? Before I have not slept. Maybe you've noticed. Maybe you have not. But we are here. Florin says, thank you, Richard. Thank you, Florin. I really appreciate it. Even says, I know they don't pay you enough for this. Well, I mean, I can't complain. I mean, you guys are the best. So I have your support, and that's what counts. That's the best. So thank you, Even. I appreciate it. True Freethinker says, glass boxes in court like in Nuremberg trials. Dude, I mean, even they were given, like I said, interpreters and more lax conditions than Julian Assange, which says something. Saddam Hussein, for example, go look at Saddam's trial. He was sitting with his buddies in the dock. I mean, what is that? What is that? Florin, thank you again for the super chat. I appreciate it. Pantermina says, now all the USA has to do is to fake guarantee his safety in American prisons and off Assange goes. That's why the judge agreed with every other bullshit. Well, that's actually a point that I brought up with Gary McKinnon in the interview I did with him, because they offered him a deal, right? I can't remember what it was, 3 years or 8 years instead of 70, right? Like, why should he even spend a day there? But nonetheless, they offered him a deal. And you know what they told him? I'm not kidding. They said that if he doesn't take the deal, he's going to fry. The fucking prosecution told him that. Like, they just flat out threatening him. You're going to fry. Holy shit. Yeah, that's what they were doing. And Gary, what he said, look, man, I'm just going to pull it up because, like, go to my website and read the interview, because it was via email, RichardMedhurst.com. You'll find it. Okay. But I'm just going to pull it up for you anyway, because they also lied to him about that. Okay. And you're actually 100% correct. And I just want to show you what they said. So, okay. Here we go. So, articles, Gary McKinnon interview. Yeah, okay, so let me just pull this up over here. So, he said, this is Gary. He says, if I said no to just flying over there in chains, they would prosecute me to the max and not allow any family visits or any access to press. Okay. Now, it doesn't stop there. Where's the one where he says about yeah, there we go. So at one point, this is me asking him a question. At one point, the U.S. offered you a plea bargain with a reduced sentence of 3 years instead of 70. The prosecution threatened to fry you if you turned down this deal. Tell us more about how the U.S. intimidated you. Now, Gary says they offered 8 years instead of 70. I said, sure, put that in writing. But they refused. So I refused. At one point, they wanted me to go to the U.S. Embassy with my lawyer. I told them this wouldn't happen since the embassy is technically U.S. soil and they're obviously trying it on. Trying it on means like, they're pulling a trick. I'm trying to translate English slang for those who are not getting it. But you see the shit. You see how fucking cunning they are. Oh, come to the U.S. Embassy. They are really like devious, unbelievable. It's really crazy. And you see how they refuse to put anything in writing? Bastards. So I don't think that anyone would believe anything the US says about, more lax prison conditions. And this was a big point of contention during the hearing in September, October, because the defense argued that if Assange is taken there, not only will he be placed under SAMS, but he has Asperger's, ASD. He needs psychiatric, psychiatric care, right? And they can't provide him with that. And the U.S., the defense, the prosecution tried to tell the defense and the judge, well, no, that's not true. We have beautiful facilities and we can accommodate people with, special needs or who might require psychiatric or psychological attention or whatever it is. And dude, they tried to make it sound like a holiday resort. I'm not kidding. They were like, look, there's playtime for prisoners. You know what it was? It's like you open a door and you go into another room and you're on your own in that other room. That's their playtime. And they have an arts and crafts program. And the prisoners can communicate with each other. Yeah, it turns out what they meant by that is if you yell at the top of your lungs inside of your prison cell, then you can maybe hear another inmate. Like I was sitting there in the court, right? And like, you did not just say that shit. You did not just say that. I swear to God, they're trying to make it sound like a holiday resort. It's obscene. Like these people are adults in a fucking central criminal court in London, and they're trying to make a super maximum prison in the US where they send terrorists sound like a holiday resort so that they can lure a journalist and kidnap him, essentially. I mean, like, I can't help but laugh because it's like it's comically evil. It's really unbelievable. So sorry, I know I went off on a tangent, but you know, I need to give you guys this information because it's just unreal. Also, another thing, even if the United States put everything in writing, who's going to make them follow it? The UK is following US law, baby, not the other way around. What are they going to do? The US will just rip it up. They'll just come up with a fourth fucking indictment. They'll just do whatever they like. You can't trust them. And just out of principle alone, God damn it, he is innocent. He is innocent. He did not do any of that stuff. Like there's nothing to even concede here. They should not be given an inch. The United States is in the wrong. They should be busy prosecuting George Bush and Rumsfeld and all those war criminals. Gordon, thank you very much for the sticker. I appreciate it. NRJ6, thanks for covering this, brother. Power to the people. Hashtag free Assange. Habibi. Edward says UK Home Secretary Priti Patel, yes, and rest if UK government are lapdogs of the US State Department. Hope the appeal fails. Best wishes to Julian. I couldn't agree more. They are definitely lapdogs to the US. I mean, in many aspects. In many aspects. Steven, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. And Hasmeek says, thank you for this thorough breakdown of the trial and verdict. You're most welcome. I'm really happy that people actually stuck around for an hour and a half to listen to me ramble on about this. I mean, it's not just that I have to. It's like I literally need to. I want to, because you know it's once you understand all of these details, like no one can look at this objectively and then say like this is okay in any aspect. I mean, the treatment of Assange, his prison conditions, the charges, the arguments in court, the verdict. It's so bad. I mean, you don't have to be a lawyer to see that this is wrong, right? These countries are saying they're liberal democracies and they govern based on the rule of law. No, they don't. They're full of shit. There is no rule of law. There's just what Uncle Sam tells them. Mona Darling says, great job, Richie. It's a bit concerning about press freedoms, though. Just stopping in to support you. Got to run to work. Love you. I love you too. Thank you, Mona. It's good to see you, and I'm really happy you got to see some of the stream. Buzz, it's good to see you as well. Says, thank you for your great reporting. It led to this. I don't know about that. I mean, yo, man, I appreciate it. That's really kind of you. But like, there's a lot of other people also doing great work. I'm really blessed and privileged to have this platform. I thank you guys so much. I really do. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And you know, I've told you this before. Even if every single outlet in the world, mainstream, independent, whatever, even TYT, even if they were reporting on Assange, we would also be reporting on Assange. It's not a thing of like, oh, they're not doing it, so I guess we have to do it. No. This is important. This is very important. It concerns me directly as well. I mean, the wars in these documents, you know, they affected where I was born in Syria. This is happening in central London, right? I'm a British citizen, man. It's happening in my country. I won't allow it. I know. This is bullshit. No. Although, am I surprised? Again, like I was laughing about this earlier. There's no such thing as a UK justice system. But you do have to understand something here. I want to get something across because one of the imperialist doctrines, right, that we've heard for hundreds of years is this, oh, you know, the British are civilized. Yes, boy. We govern based on the rule of law. We do things our way, yes. You know, they have a pristine justice system and, you know, they do things by the book and everything must be squeaky clean and they are a force of good in the world, right? That's what the British have been telling people for hundreds of years and that's why they thought they could colonize 1/5 of the planet, right? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I'm waiting. You call this a justice system? Go and fuck yourself. I was sitting in the goddamn courtroom and I didn't see no justice. I saw bullshit. I saw a United States kangaroo court. That's what I fucking saw. Eric says, we love your rants, never apologize. My man. Right on, right on, right on. So Ian says you're great at that accent. The Queen's English, right? I've told you this story a million times before. I didn't know that it's called Queen's English, or it's also called BBC English, or received pronunciation. It's got 3 names. I used to call it Eton Schoolboy, because Eton is like this private school where, you know, all the future prime ministers go, right? I think you had David Cameron. What's the bozo? Number 10 right now? Boris Johnson. Yeah, they went there, for example. You know, it's a good accent in movies, though. I appreciate it in movies, like David Niven. You know David Niven? Good actor. Pink Panther movies, Guns of Navarone. You know, lots of good stuff. Who else has it? You know, you don't hear it that much anymore. No one talks like that. But it's a funny accent. I like it. Yes, boy. Brandy, boy. So anyway, Wednesday we'll have the bail decision. So again, let me just make myself clear. On Wednesday, they will reconvene and the defense will submit the bail application, and then we'll see what happens. Okay. And of course, I'll be here. I'll be live tweeting on Twitter. So if you don't follow on Twitter, definitely go do that. Hold on. Let me find my own account over here. There you go. I'll be live tweeting. You can follow all the updates at RichardMedhurst. Okay. That's my handle. And of course, I'll be here as well. I'll be on YouTube, Rockfin, covering it just as I am now with a video report. And what else am I forgetting? Yeah, that's about it, man. So before I leave you guys, again, you'll have to forgive me, man. There's a lot of stuff I wanted to cover. I wanted to cover the Trump pardons. What else was there? Stuff happening in Syria. Just a plethora of things. The ruse that they pulled in Congress as well. You know, what's his name again? Sanders and Markey, I think. They were trying to get the 2,000 stimulus checks passed, and then, you know, all the Democrats were like, oh no, we're going with McConnell. So there's a lot of stuff I wanted to cover, but I'm glad we got to do the fraud squad yesterday. The great unmasking of the boutique left. Yo. Anyway, let's stick to Assange. So I thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you so much for giving your attention and your time to this case, to listen to what's happening. I really appreciate it. And it is important. And please continue to support independent journalism. It really goes a long way. If you can, donate on Venmo or CashApp or PayPal, whatever's good for you. There's a QR code that you can just scan with your camera on your phone, and it will take you right there. And by the way, I have a very, very, very good announcement. We actually smashed that goal. You guys are the freaking best. Like, we hit 350 patrons, man. So technically, I owe you guys a crab dance, but on account of having not slept, you'll have to forgive me. I will play it next time because I don't have it ready with me right now. But if you can't support on Patreon, man, it would really, really go a long way. I'm going to drop the link in the chat, right? So patreon.com/Papi man. And for as little as you like or as much as you like, whatever, man, everything is appreciated. And thank you so much. It's I couldn't do this without you guys. And yeah, that's about it, man. Yo, I need some sleep. I really need some sleep. And again, I'm going to tell you guys to go sign up on Rockfin. Jimmy Dore is there. Ron Placone is there. Status Coup. Convo Couch. Nico House. I'm there. What more do you want, man? This is, look, you know about big tech. I don't need to tell you how YouTube plays with us. Twitter, what they've been doing lately. I love Rockfin because they don't censor anything, first of all. If I'm allowed to put Syria in the title of my videos, right? Isn't that wonderful? I can say my own country's name without being punished by an algorithm. Beautiful, right? That's number one. So there's no censorship. And we shouldn't, number two is we shouldn't centralize everything on YouTube because, I mean, this is it's good for now, but it's not smart. So definitely go sign up there for free. You can make a free account. You'll find all the videos that I post here on there as well. Okay, you can make a free account and hit follow. And if you're feeling generous, you can hit that red button and you get everybody's Patreon or premium rather, excuse me, in one go. So like Jimmy Dore, he has a premium, right? I don't know who else does a premium, but it's like everyone all in one package. So I'm just telling you guys why this is good. Anyway, I'm gonna stop. I don't like plugging the show, man. I feel like I just want to rant about politics. I'm not good at this, but there you go. Just want you guys to know that I really appreciate your support. It really means a lot. And I thank you for commenting, for liking, for subscribing, for sharing the videos, for raising awareness, especially with stuff like this, with Assange. Because no one is covering this, man. By the way, let me just tell you something. What happened today goes off on a 50-year rant. We were starting out in the lobby right before the hearing, and I think the BBC, they sent like 2 reporters, and they're not allowed to do that. You can have like 1 person per outlet. And I was like, okay, whatever. But where the fuck were you the entire extradition? Like, did you see how they only come at the last minute? I mean, okay, you can come here and tell me it's better than nothing, but no, that's not effective, man. Like, you need to run a goddamn sustained campaign. But I mean, then again, it's the BBC. What do you expect? What do you expect? It's owned by the goddamn British government that is letting this shit happen. What do you expect? Anyway, I just thought that was funny, right? I just thought that was funny. I once again, I want to give a huge shout out to all of the independent journalists that have been covering this. Kevin, Gastola, Mary, Tarek, Hamad, Joey, Consortium News, Stefano Marizzi. I mean, there's too many to name. Actually, again, I when I say that, I mean it figuratively. We're not that too many. That's the whole issue. No one's been covering this except us. But my memory sucks. So I posted on Twitter. Man. Really, like, just great work. Just great work, honestly. And you got to salute them and support them. You really do. So thank you guys very much. We'll be back soon. Wednesday, I'll be here. And following up on the Assange hearing. So it's going to be 9:30 a.m. GMT, British time. So what is that for you in New York? 5 hours behind your 5. So I guess 4:30 a.m. And in LA, that should be 1:30 a.m. Something like that. 9:30 a.m. GMT. Then calculate wherever you are. Okay. So thank you very much for supporting the show, guys. I really appreciate it very, 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 very much. And I'm just going to make sure I didn't miss a crab dance. Maybe somebody signed up on Patreon, and I don't want to make I want to make sure I didn't miss a crab dance for them. Hey, we got 2. We got Ahmed and we got Neshama, if I'm saying your name correctly. Thank you very much for supporting the show on Patreon. This crab dance goes out to you.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard. And Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line, claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch off.
Hey, why you texting? Why? You're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Fuck you.
Take care, guys. I love you. Be good, be safe. Make sure you hit the like button.